You're listening to the Business and Life Podcast, where 7 days a week, proven entrepreneurs share their success stories, failures, and give you true value on how you can build a great business and an awesome life. With your host, Mike Olivas.
What's happening, guys? Today I'm chatting with Erik Van Horn. Erik is the founder of Franchise Secrets, who helps people find the right franchises to buy. He owned multiple franchise brands in different states, and he's helped hundreds of people invest in franchises that fit best for them. All right, Erik, welcome to the show.
Thanks, man. Good to be here.
Absolutely. So tell our listeners, one, where you're calling from, and also maybe something interesting about yourself.
Calling in from Spearfish, South Dakota. It's out in the middle of nowhere. Most people think of South Dakota as corn and cows, but I'm in the Black Hills. So most people know of either Mount Rushmore or the Sturgis Motorcycle Rally. So that's home for me, a small town, and I love it.
Is that where you grew up?
I did grow up here.
Very cool.
Grew up here, and then I moved away for about 10, 15 years, and then started a family, and then moved back.
Okay. Well, tell us a little bit about Franchise Secrets. What kind of what's a business do? What kind of value does it bring to the marketplace?
So I created Franchise Secrets because I've been in franchising for almost 20 years. As a franchisee, I've owned 7 different brands in 8 different states because you can't really own many franchises here in the sticks of South Dakota. So everything's been out of state. And then I was always looking for my next brand when I exited my first one. And I thought I need to be able to find good franchises, but I didn't know about very many of them out there. I knew a lot about a few, but not a lot about very many. And I couldn't really trust the magazines. And so I started to understand that there's other ways out there as somebody that's a franchise insider to find out information on franchises for my next brand. And then I started to help a lot of other people find really good brands to invest into. That's when I created Franchise Secrets. And it's really an online resource for people to learn to see if they want to get into franchising and if they want me to help them find a brand. And then I'm doing a lot of other things in franchising as well.
Cool. So you're going to help people out. Like, for example, if there's listeners that are, a lot of our listeners are aspiring entrepreneurs and current entrepreneurs, but both in your wheelhouse in terms of your demographic. There's a lot of people that are business owners that start more businesses once they figure out the processes and procedures, which in a franchise, that's drawn out for you, which is nice, right?
It better be drawn out for you. And there's a lot of, a lot of people that are aspiring entrepreneurs. Franchising is an easy way into business for them because the franchisor and in addition to their initial franchisees have made a lot of mistakes along the way. So they get into it with a lot of mistakes being made already. They get to, you're basically paying for that.
Right.
With royalties and franchise fee, but you're given a system and your job is to execute. And then as an existing business owner or an entrepreneur, someone that has created stuff from scratch, you understand the value in something being built for you. But what I like about that, Mike, is I can buy into a franchise now and put a manager through training, have the franchisor train the manager for me so I don't have to do a lot of that. And I can basically work on the business from day one.
That's awesome. And that's such it's just a different world from starting your own company. And I've never had a franchise, but I do know at the end of the day, the objective on most of my companies has been franchising my companies, not necessarily turn them into a franchise, but the same idea, which is create it into an engine, right? And that's the bottom line on the franchise side is that your processes, your procedures, and you're buying into not like a brand, you're not just paying 10, 20, 80, 100 plus grand in different kind of franchise fees for nothing. I mean, the biggest thing you're paying for is that playbook, I think. And my 2 cents, maybe I'm wrong. When you can always, I'd love to hear your thoughts on it. But I think it's just the fact that these people have already failed. You're buying failures, fall on your face, all that jazz. Like you said, from day one, being able to work on it and not as much in it is such a game changer.
Yeah, and you're absolutely right. And as an entrepreneur, I've created different businesses, not franchise, and I want to create systems and processes. You want to have your business like a franchise, whether it's just you're a single location. You want that thing to run like a franchise, which is dumb down all the systems, all the processes that you have, so your manager can tell your employees what to do and they implement that. And I think that's one of the mistakes that people make when they first come to me and they want to buy a franchise, and typically they think Subway or McDonald's or some big brand out there, or they say, Erik, I want something that is completely unique that the marketplace doesn't have. And at the end of the day, that's really not what you want when you're buying something. I don't care if it's the best product, if you have the exclusive on whatever. if the franchisor does not have really good systems and processes that are dummy proof, then you really don't want it, because systems and processes are first and foremost whenever I'm looking at a brand to invest into. Everything else is just a bonus on top of that.
It's gold. You're absolutely right. I can't tell you how, I mean, even now, after 13 years of having a national group travel company, you're continuously tweaking them. And I'm sure their franchisees are as well, but they're sending out updates, and it's data updates and it's back end updates, that kind of stuff, right? But you're consistently making things better. I don't think that ever changes for any company, of course. It's not like, oh, we got it, let's just keep going, right?
No.
Like, no, you always definitely putting the wrench inside the engine and tuning it up for sure.
And that's like with a franchisor, they're always improving. So, and
Right.
they improve because of their franchisees. And the franchisees improve because of what they're learning from their employees. So you've got everybody out there learning and growing, making mistakes, doing things right. And then at the end of the day, everybody grows because of it.
Yeah, it
So,
sounds like
like,
a great ecosystem.
yeah, like in a franchise, if you might have an idea and you want to implement that idea, you can do that, or you can call up the franchisor, a good one, and say, has this been tried before? And they'll tell you, it's been tried and it failed, these 10 different ways. If you have an 11th way to try to make it work, go for it. But don't try these 10 other ways that it's already failed before.
Yeah, no, absolutely. How long have you been in business, by the way, Eric?
Almost 20 years. I started in my mid-20s.
Nice. Awesome. And give me a time where you felt you've hit rock bottom or you're close to it and you were able to kind of overcome a disaster.
In business or personally?
Well, I guess in business, but this is a business in life. So I think that all kind of, when you're starting a business, it happens personally. I get it.
Yeah. And so one of the things that I've had a lot of things that I've touched that have always seemed to turn to gold. And then in more recent times, there was a brand that I didn't do enough due diligence on, or not even enough, but the right due diligence on. And it turned out to not have the processes and systems that I thought it did. And the customer base was different than I thought it was. And so I got overconfident in myself, my own abilities, because I had money. I look back when I didn't have a lot of money, I was making a lot of really smart strategic decisions. And then when you come into windfalls of money and exit or whatever it is, it's easy to start making decisions that are not well grounded. And I started to make some decisions because I could back it up. It didn't hurt if I lost that money. And I realized that I made some poor choices during that time.
That's great. I think that's a really good, I guess, value bomb to our current entrepreneurs where, and I can relate, by the way, with that for sure. We're like, marketing dollars, throw some more at it.
Yep.
Advertising dollars, throw some more out of it. And I think it's really important to understand that being frugal is not being cheap. And in business, you have to be. There's no other way around. You got to be frugal, and you got to make strategic decisions and reverse engineer how the numbers will impact you. Because even if you can lose it, doesn't mean you should, right? And it's easy to do it faster, right?
It means you're not being a good steward of what you have. It means you're not being a really good business person. And just because you have money to throw at it, if it's a test, that's one thing. And going into it, it's a test. I've spent a lot of money on Facebook ads, trying this new thing.
A/B testing everything, sure.
Yeah. And some of it worked, some of it didn't. But at the end of the day, I broke even on that. And I realized I couldn't scale what I wanted to do with Facebook. And so I pulled back. But then I made some just poor decisions because I had the money to be able to do it. And that was a big mistake that I made. And then it hurt a bit too. And I'm okay. It's interesting, Mike, because I hadn't really lost a whole lot in business. And you hear people saying, unless you've lost, unless you've been punched in the gut, you really haven't done a whole lot. You haven't been taking big enough risks. And so some of that was good, but it also helped me understand how I can help more people, especially as they start to investigate franchises. So I definitely wanted to learn what I did wrong, mistakes that I made, so I can help a lot more people.
Yeah, that's a great, I like that. Because a lot of people, you're right, are going to, when I say rock bottom, they give me rock bottom. And they give me some stories, some personal stories. Child passes away in the middle of something happening, just crazy stuff, which we're so blessed to kind of hear these stories about how people to overcoming true life disaster plus business disaster, people that have lost millions. But although you're blessed to not having to do that. We both are. I'm happy as
Yeah.
well, knock on wood, right? But however, I think what you mentioned is something that's definitely apparent. It's different for the show, and it's important to understand that making smart decisions and frugal decisions is still important. Just because you have it doesn't mean you want to throw it all on the field on the craps
Yeah.
table, right? Yeah.
No, it's so true. And I, John Lee Dumas asked me that question a couple of years ago, like, what's the biggest failure? And I remember thinking like, I don't have anything. And I felt bad for not having something. I'm like, I can't make anything up. And then I was thinking, I just got to wait for it to come. So no, I've been completely blessed in my life. I haven't had any tragic or traumatic things happen. I have it happen all around me. And so I'm very aware of that. And I do have an extremely grateful heart.
Yeah.
And when things do go bad in little ways, I'm always aware like somebody else has it a lot worse than me.
Sure. Absolutely. I think that's important to understand, just a perspective on being blessed, being excited about being able to move forward, which is my next question. What are you excited about right now within your company, your industry?
I'm excited about an opportunity within the franchising industry. So I've been, like I said, with a lot of different brands. Very few people, franchisors, really help their top performing franchisees, like the top 10, top 20% of their franchisees. They're happy that they're there, but they're the least amount of work. They're making the franchisor the most amount of money. And the franchisors are typically worried about all the underperforming ones and the average ones, helping them get a little bit above average. And I've been a part of some franchises that have great ecosystems to foster top 10, top 20% growth. And I don't see it out there right now in most franchises. So I am starting to put together a mastermind and meetings and events around top performing franchisees, or those that want to be top performing franchisees, because it exists out there in our world of entrepreneurship. I'm a part of different masterminds. I have met some extremely successful people and people that have become friends and mentors, but I just don't see it in franchising. So I'm excited to take what I've learned in the whole ecosystem of the mastermind worlds, bring that into franchising and help a lot of franchisees get to where I've been, and to bring in people that are way ahead of me in this game and to bring them to help me and help others.
We're going to dive into our guests' experiences in business and life after this quick message. Life Nation, are you struggling with growing your business and hitting goals? Or are you over the 9-to-5 grind, finally ready to take the dive into entrepreneurship? What are you waiting for? Go to michaelivas.com to set up a free, no obligation coaching call today. That's MIKEOLIVAS.com. I can help you. It may be the best call you've ever made.
Why do you think a lot of the franchisees out there and entrepreneurs in your journey in general, but why do you think there's a lot of guys and girls and women, of course, out there that actually try, work their asses off and still fail?
I think one of the things is it's about them. They're working, they're doing it.
Sure.
They're trying to solve the problem with more hours. They're trying to solve the problem with more effort. And when there's problems in the business, people tend to start making micro bad decisions. And pretty soon they have big decisions to make at the macro level, and they continue to make bad decisions. But if they were just to pull back out of where they are, which is seen just right in front of them, and get advice to look at the business or the problem or the issue from a different angle or a different elevation, then they would be able to see they might be the problem, or they might have some key employees that are the problem. But I think it's just problem solving the wrong way. And problem solving by working harder and putting in more hours is not the way to do it. But I think that's the natural way a lot of people try to solve some of their problems.
Yeah, no, I definitely agree with that. Or they throw money at it and they keep trying to throw money at it, and hoping that just kind of will fill the void, and they assume that that's going to help. More and more consultants, more advisors. It just at some point got to take a step out.
Yeah, absolutely.
How are you currently in your, you have several franchisees and obviously your clients as well in that world. Business and life, that's the name of the podcast. I want to find out how you feel you've been able to build the life you want to live through business.
Man, I remember being a kid, like in high school, and home after school, and just doing the things that we do as young boys, and playing outside, and had four-wheelers and motorbikes. And my dad was home about 3:30 one day, and he is an entrepreneur, and he came home, and I didn't realize it at the time, but he had made a choice to come home that day and future days to spend time with me and my sister when we got home. And that's when I really first got to taste the freedom and him not working more hours or working harder to provide a better life for us kids, but to take advantage of the life that he was able to create at that time, which is using that freedom. So ever since then, and then realizing he had a construction company, I don't want to do construction for the rest of my life, because I did that when I was in middle school and in high school. And like, I'm not going to do this.
Yeah.
So I started to go down that entrepreneurial route. I quit law school just before I was starting law school and ended up starting a little lawn company, which turned into me buying a house from a lady that I was doing her lawn when I didn't have any money to buy it. My parents ended up coming in on that deal with me. And that's when I started to understand deal making.
Sure.
I had an opportunity to buy a house, no money into it, assuming her mortgage. And with her paying down on that for the last 20 years, I walked into that. I saw the opportunity. I brought in the money person, which was my dad, and he put down $5,000 to pay the closing costs. And a few months later, he bought me out of that deal. I was now had a large chunk of money for myself. I bought my first franchise. And that's when I stumbled into this world of semi-absentee franchising at that point, because I didn't realize it at the time. It was in the tax business, and a lot of people thought I was an accountant. I was a CPA. I wasn't. I dumbed down the tax business into a marketing business. It was marketing operations were the successful people in that business. So then I just started to go down this road of the semi-absentee, passive type franchise where I could work hard and on strategic things in that business, pull back and have some freedom and flexibility. So I got a taste of freedom and flexibility early on, and that drove all of my decisions on all the businesses that I had after that. So when I did have a family, I could have that freedom and that flexibility with my own kids. I've got 3 little girls right now, my wife and I. And so that freedom and flexibility completely drives everything that I do.
Can you explain for our listeners what a semi-absentee franchise is?
So there's some myths out there, and there's some truth around semi-absentee franchising. It is a lot of franchises claim to be semi-absentee, meaning you can keep your day job and start a franchise.
Of course,
you can have you can have a business and do this other business on the side. Yeah. And if it's just marketing, then you don't want to get involved with it, and you don't know if it's marketing or not, because good marketers don't seem like they're marketing. What you need to do is talk to franchisees who are actually doing it and how long have they been doing it? Because it's a buzzword out there in franchising, semi-absentee. And some people think I can keep my job, I can work 50 hours a week, and I can start this other franchise. And before long, I'll magically be able to leave my job, make more money at my franchise, and live happily ever after. Well, there's nobody in your franchise that is doing what you want to do, meaning coming from corporate America, working corporate America, leaving corporate America, and now making more money at their franchise than they made in corporate America, then it's probably not going to be the right fit for you. So that's what semi-absentee franchising is. And it's a big myth out there, but there are franchises out there that are semi-absentee, and typically you have to pay more money for them.
Yeah, I was going to ask you, that was my next question. So thank you. Are there truly, turnkey semi-absentee franchises out there? Because there's so much like just buzzwords out there about passive income, right?
Yeah,
which I think is unrealistic. There's still going to be, maybe at some point it'll become passive income, right? But I'm not right out of the gate. So a real truly turnkey engine is going to cost you millions generally, if that's what you're trying to buy.
It costs a lot of money. Yeah. I'll give you an example, Mike, because this is something I'm passionate about. There's a lot of people out there selling this, and I kind of take the very cautious approach with it, and I put out a lot of content on this subject itself. I did a podcast just on this, and I had feedback on it. They're like, Erik, no one's going to buy a franchise after listening to that. And I'm like, it's mandatory listening for everybody that I help look at franchises, because it's reality. Yeah. But probably the most semi-absentee brand that I've ever been a part of was Salon Studios. And it's a salon suite concept, which people initially thinking Erik is in the salon business. He must do hair. He must do, all of that. And no, I don't do any of that. My girl said I did for a while because I was in the beauty industry, but it's a real estate play. We would go in and take 7,000 square feet of decent retail space in let's call it a grocery anchored center. And we would spend about $1 million, and we are left with 40 individual suites that we lease out to hairstylists, estheticians, massage therapists, anybody in the beauty space.
Yeah.
And they would rent from us under 1 to 2 year contracts, and they would pay us every week because that's what they're used to doing. So when I say we, it's my business partners and myself. There's 4 of us. We built out 12 of them over a 5-year period. Wow. We had 1 district operational manager. He oversaw everything. Like, I helped open up the first 2 or 3. After that, we would have grand openings, and our district operational manager would say, "Hey, we just opened up number 4, number 5, number 6." So we didn't really, we had once a week conference calls with him and quarterly face-to-face meetings. And he had a team of about 5 people under him to run 12 locations in this salon suite concept. So the important thing there, it costs a lot of money to get that up and going. We were able to pay somebody a lot of money for his skill set to be able to run the entire operation. So those are the things that help it become semi-absentee.
Yeah.
Not very complex, simple business model, and you can pay somebody that can oversee the whole project.
100%. Getting the right person.
Yeah.
Sure that's where you spend most of your time. Is okay, great. We got the money, we got the backing. Who is the right person to run the show?
Yeah, we made some mistakes along the way before we found them.
Oh yeah, that's definitely going to be part of the process for sure. What are some out of all your successes and failures? What is a good piece of parting advice that you'd like to give to the business and life listeners out there as far as current and aspiring entrepreneurs?
Hire people smarter than you and get around people smarter than you. I've forced myself to be around people that are ahead of me in business where it makes me uncomfortable. And then I became comfortable in that environment. And then once I became comfortable, I knew I needed to level up and get around another group of people that is uncomfortable for me. And every time that I do that, I just see my network increase, my ability to make a phone call and get incredible insight on different business opportunities has just completely changed the game for me. But I also do that with employees. I want business partners and employees that are really good at stuff. I want them to be better than me, even in my zone of genius, whether it's marketing or sales or operations. I want them to be. It's easy to hire somebody that's better than you in your weakness, but I want to hire people that are better than me in my strengths.
That's awesome. That is such great advice. And that's such humbling advice for those that are out there that are either one-man shows or, they might have a smaller team and still doing good revenue, still creating a business, right? But it's hard to sometimes grasp that, I think, as a CEO or chief everything officer, which most of them are, and that's okay. It's definitely okay for those listeners, by the way. That's normal initially, but that CEO turns into a true CEO when you do find those right people.
100%.
And you're working on it, not in it. That's great. Where can people find you, by the way, Erik?
Franchise Secrets is probably the best way to find me. I've got a podcast there. You can reach out to me there. Facebook, Erik Van Horn, ERIK. But Franchise Secrets is probably the best place to go and learn about me and what I do.
Nice. Is that the name of the podcast as well?
Yes, it is.
Love it. Well, that definitely connects. Well, thank you so much for your time. I appreciate all the knowledge bombs here today.
Hey, thanks, man. I really appreciate it. It's been fun.
Life Nation, you got to remember that in order for things to change, you must change. And in order for things to get better, you must get better. You just got better by hanging out with me, Michael Libas, and the Business and Life Nation. So come back tomorrow because I'm here dropping sound bombs 7 days a week, baby. If you'd like to subscribe, please do, so you can take action and execute. See you tomorrow.